Officially call the meeting in order. If everyone will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have the agenda to approve. Has everyone had a chance to look it over, and any questions? If not, can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion and second. You're off your game today, huh? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Is there anybody here that wishes to make public comments at this time on any topic not on the agenda?
Hey, Larry. Is that under appropriations?
What's that?
For the legislation that is that under appropriations?
Number 7.
7's on the agenda.
But Larry's is.
Larry is something different.
Yeah, Larry's.
You have something, Larry?
Yeah.
Do you need more than a couple minutes?
I'm Larry Crawford here, live South Iowa. I just kind of want to see what your people are thinking. Years ago, when I was in the Guards, we tried to work on Marshmallow Lane out there to bring it down to 54 Highway. And we got shut down, and the Guard was going to take care of the road each month because we were engineers at that time. But I'd like to see what you people think about that, because you're going to redo 54 Highway one of these days, and the amount of traffic that's on 54 Highway is tremendous compared to what it used to be. And you could also take and stop maybe some of this huge farm machinery that's going west of town to farm that's coming down State Street and going out west by tying Marshmallow Lane. And I know the other day a guy come down through there, he was taking up almost 3 lanes. He could go in and up Marshmallow Lane and over to his shop and shut off some of that. Some of the people who work at Russell Stovers could use it that come from the west. But also you could use that for when the high school has their parades, Farm City Days. You have to detour down Broadway. You can go up to Marshmallow Lane, go up to Oregon Road, go over to 169, down 169, back to 54, and get around Iola. But also, if we ever had a serious catastrophe, like a tornado or something that come through that closed 54, you at least have a way to get around Iola, you know, that way. I'm thinking that if you detour through Yates Center and go down 75, they're going to find out they can go down Petrolia Road or the Pickway Hill Road to Humboldt and go that way, except for the semis. They can't cross the river bridge at Humboldt. But, you know, just an idea, train of thought to see what you think. They don't have to be no curb and gutter type deal. Maybe a couple culverts and grade it up, put some gravel on it, run on it for a couple of years, and then maybe chip and seal it. And you'd have a fairly decent, you know, little spur. If it floods, closes it, 2 or 3 days, reopen it, go on. So that's kind of what I've been thinking, you know, to help the city to have a way around the city, but yet not have to detour everybody all over the country. So
Thanks, Larry. Appreciate your input. Anyone else? Anything not on the agenda? All right, consent agenda. Everybody have a chance to review it. Any questions? No questions? Do we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
Second? Second. A motion second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, the proclamation for Lehigh Portland State Park.
There should be one in the purple folder that's stamped and ready for your signature that Lisa can take picture.
This is the official?
Yes.
Okay. I'll read this, and then if there's anybody here that wants to make some comments, you can do so at that time. Whereas the city of Iola is proud to be considered for a Kansas State Park, which will improve the lives of Iola and southeast Kansas citizens, and whereas the state park will enrich the fabric of our community, and whereas the state park provides recreational opportunities for boating, fishing, and swimming, and whereas the state park will provide a trail system for increased physical activity for walkers, runners, and bicyclists, and whereas the state park can become an economic hub for the city of Iola and other southeast Kansas communities, and whereas this occasion presents such a moment with the opportunity to establish the Lehigh-Portland State Park within the city limits of the city of Iola, and now therefore it be resolved that I, Steve French, Mayor of Iola, Kansas, and the members of the Iola City Council do hereby declare our support for establishment of the Lehigh-Portland State Park. This went out in your packets, guys, and we haven't heard any feedback from anyone. So it's believed that this council supports it and the idea behind the creation of a Kansas State Park at the old Lehigh Quarry. Council, you have any comments?
I have at least one question. Just because in my 33 long years of living, I've never seen like a private entity give property to a state park, so I don't know, was this area formerly in city limits, or is it currently in city limits? So then when it becomes a state park, is it still considered in city limits? So part of the duties would fall on the city?
No.
Okay, that's fully taken over by the state. Okay.
State would maintain it.
That was just my question on if we need to have our own patrols out there.
No.
Or if it is strictly the wildlife and parks.
Exactly.
Well, we figure if things get really rowdy out there, we'll probably have to
Assist,
yes. So to say that we'd never be out there, I'm not going to say never, but they're going to patrol themselves until, or I shouldn't say until, if things get really rowdy out there some night there. So for me to say that we'll never be out there, no, that's not accurate. But we're not going to have a Iola PD cruiser there driving around all the time. No, we're not going to have that.
So then with property tax, do we lose that now that it's also a state entity? I know property tax isn't a big part of our income.
State park.
They'll exempt themselves.
Okay.
I'd just like to make a comment regarding Elks. It's maintained this property for many years. I don't know exactly how many years, but I think they've done a fabulous job of making improvements, even though they had to tear those out. But I think they've maintained that well. It's been preserved, been open to a lot of members of the community. And in some ways, I'm sad to see that change. We'll see how this turns out to be a state park.
Okay. I assume some of you are here to address the Lehigh issue. Brian, is that what you're here for?
I guess everybody can hear me, I hope.
Just speak up, and for the record, need to state your name because there are those at home.
Correct. Yes, good evening. As most of you know here, I'm Ryan Sig. I was born in 1978, 44 years old, live as a citizen of Iola for the 44 short years of my life too, Josiah. Probably not as long as some of you in the room, but anyways, attended the council meeting tonight, voiced my concerns of the legislation of gifting Lehigh-Portland property, trails, and the lake owned by Iola Industries to the state of Kansas Department of Wildlife Parks. The body of the water that most of the area commonly knew to be the Iola Elks Lake. Iola Industries, as all of you know, is a corporation created by businessmen and women from our local media, local bankers, directors of corporations, owners of local businesses, along with members of the community. And shockingly, to my amazement, after being asked by several, inside and outside of the community, who is Iola Industries and what do they do, I've realized how actually little the public knows about Iola Industries. According to their website, Iola Industries currently partner with the City of Iola, Allen County, and a nonprofit organization, Thrive Allen County. Isle Industries made a lot of great decisions in the 68 years of the operation to recruit industry and business to Iowa and Allen County. The Iowa Register on February 2nd of 2023 stated the property belonging to the Isle Industries was to be gifted to Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks. The property consisted of 360 acres of land, 90 acres of water, and a value of $2 million. A small portion of the property and the water was leased by the Isle Elks Lodge 569 beginning in 1982 until the lease termination date of December 31, 2023. And yes, they leased it for only the sum of $1, as it was stated in the newspaper, per year. The Isle Elks was instituted in Iowa in 1900, currently consists of approximately 500 members. The lease of the Isle Elks Lodge only came after failed attempts of offering to sell the property to the city of Iola, Allen County, and I believe at one time the state of Kansas Fish and Game Commission. I'm sure there are several undisclosed reasons for declining the purchase of the property. One being mentioned a few times in the past articles was the liability of the property. I would assume the obvious liabilities would be the rock bluff walls and the quarry and the unknown hidden objects under the surface of the water. I do know that, pretty sure that the state won't have to carry any of that liability as our local entities would, whether it be the city of Iola or Allen County or the Isle Elks. During the 41 years that the Isle Elks leased the property from Isle Industries, the Elks were to provide a payment of $1 lease agreement, liability insurance, oversight, maintenance of the property, preservation of the water, and maintain a good stewardship with shared property that was constructed public trails by Thrive Allen County. 2014, Thrive Allen County began constructing trails on Isle Industries property with grant-funded money and volunteers. Thrive Allen County improved the property value of this property with the funding of the grants, and now the plan is to donate or gift the property to the state of Kansas. There's a few questions about all that, and I understood that it is a private piece of property, but will the gift have some sort of a tax deduction benefit for Isle Industries? What exactly are the written out plans of the state park provided by the Department of Wildlife and Parks? Do they plan to maintain and patrol the trails? Is there any grant money that is in place for the state park improvements? What happens to the state park if the state of Kansas decides that it does not have the funds to continue to invest in this? I've seen in other parks, they've had some troubles with maintaining some of their trails and their state parks. Been involved in several of the state parks in my life as a young child growing up. But anyways, back to where I was at, sorry. Are there any responsibilities for the city of Iola that may pertain to the state park? One was mentioned in case they needed extra patrol or something if things get crazy. But what's the involvement for the city of Iola utilities, the road maintenance, and the oversight? And with this project being handled in private until the approval of Thrive Allen County, given to the board members of Isle Industries to speak of it, raises questions to the community that should be answered to the public. Thrive Allen County has received over $4 million worth of grant money in our community and has obviously top-notch knowledge of grants, with our Lieutenant Governor being the founder of the organization. I hope the future holds a positive outcome for the state park plans with the loss of local property taxes, utility incomes, and many community events have been held over the years from a local organization. To list a few of the events, Fishing Derby, similar to our local Iola Police Department's Hoffnod, fishing tournaments, live music events, annual 4th of July fireworks display. And it just seems odd that a private for-profit organization had to remain silent about their property while working with a non-private organization that appears to have extensive involvement with the state of Kansas officials. Just wanted to speak my piece about that, and in no way am I here to speak of the Iola Elks. This is just coming from me personally, even though it had a lot of information. I've spent some time out there, and it was concerning for me, but hopefully in the future we can have a wonderful state park to show up to. Thank you for your time to hear my small voice in this community.
Trying.
Who does carry the liability when the state park takes it over? The state park does.
First, I want to say that I hope this is very successful. But I think it'll take at least a generation, because just talking from people in the community, there is some. I don't think they were meant to be, I'll say that, but I think it'll take time to heal those.
So do we know what the action will be if the Kansas legislature decides not to accept this, since that's still pending legislation?
So I'll speak on both my Thrive hat side as President and CEO of Thrive, but I'm also one of the 15 Iola Industries board members. So if the legislation doesn't move forward, then the lease does not go back to any entity. Iola Industries has already talked about development, selling the land for development. So we are fighting with everything we have in us to ensure that this moves forward, because we know that our rural communities are in decline, and Iola Industries has fought and tried to come up with unique ways for years to turn that around, either through bringing industry into the community with Gates and Russell Stover. A few years ago, it was selling land in order to create Eastgate Lofts. And so now, as they are coming into a new strategic planning phase, in fact, we're doing that this coming weekend as a board, so hopefully to better address what Ryan brought up, and I know other Elks members are saying, why isn't Iola Industries just sticking with industry? I think everyone in this room who's dealt with economic development with us understands, because if the only thing you're trying to do is industry in your community right now, you're in trouble. And so what they're looking at is quality of life and community development. And so we will have a strategic planning retreat about that both Friday and Saturday this weekend. But in the meantime, to directly answer your question, Carl, if it doesn't go through, that is what we're looking at, is the lack of this amenity in our community. And that's not just a loss of a lake for the Elks, it's a loss of a trail system for our entire community. It is a loss of our biggest recruitment tool to our community. And so we will fight for this. We understand how important it is, and we truly believe that at the end of the day, if we are able to create a state park in Allen County, that it will create a roadmap for other rural communities and how properties can be gifted to ensure people come and visit. We know that over the past few years, and in fact the past year alone, we've recruited 3 doctors who've all said that one of the main reasons they chose our community was that trail system. We actually are taking another doc out there tomorrow. So we know what this property means to our community. And I will say too, we totally understand the heartburn that the Elks had, and I wish we could talk publicly about economic development deals, but the way economic development works is until you've got things signed, until you have agreements, until you have moved forward with all entities involved, you don't publicly go forward. We've lost hotels over that, we've lost restaurants over that, and we weren't willing to lose this park over that. And so that is why we weren't able to share. And I know Ryan came to multiple Iola Industries meetings, and we told him only what we could, and every time he left, everybody's head went down and said, God, I wish we could say it, because it's really exciting, and I think that they would get behind it. And we are aware of all of the different things that Elks members have brought up about the lake, about any number of things, liability. The state is highly aware of this. They have had gifts made to wildlife and parks before. We're not unique in that endeavor, but it's not often. Kansas ranks number 49th in the nation for public access to land. So we are truly trying to turn this around. Our urban communities are continuing to do urban sprawl and developing. If we don't start holding some land aside, there's not going to be any left. And we truly think that this land is, this piece of property is a place that people will want to come to. We already know it is. We've received so much positive feedback about it. People are really excited. And so I hope that answered most of, Ryan, I was trying to keep track of everything you were going through in your head. And I will say this too. We did also do a story with KOAM. They did not cover it the way we hoped that they would, because we thanked the Elks in that story. And we said we hope that they understand that this isn't us taking away property, this is opening up property so everyone has access, and that is truly what we're trying to do, is create a place where more people will come into our community and want to experience our community. And I will say the fact that it is in Iowa city limits is very unique as well. It allows for people to walk and bike directly into this park, and when you walk and bike in, you don't have to pay. That's when you drive in or you camp there. And so it will be a really great asset for our community members, especially because we are socioeconomically lower on the status. We are poorer in southeast Kansas, and to have accessible and especially free amenities are really important for our community members as well.
Yeah, another question, sorry.
I do have a couple of questions. First of all, this questions Iola Industries.
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Hypothetically, why was it handled the way it was, in the fact that we still don't know that this is going to come to fruition? And so rather than the cart before the horse, I am not an Elks member. I will say I am excited about the potential of this. I think it will be a wonderful asset to southeast Kansas, to the state of Kansas, and to Iola in general. But my question is, why did Iola Industries issue the eviction notice before the ink was dry? So, because we don't know it's going to happen. And then this plan B is to hopefully sell and develop. During all of this time, the Elks could have been still continuing their lease.
So part of that is we wanted to give the Elks, as soon as KDWP said, yes, we want this property, we wanted the Elks to have as much time as possible to understand that this would probably be their last summer having that property to themselves. We wanted to be good landlords in that sense. The other thing is KDWP could not keep any of the facilities that were out there. None of them are up to code for the state standards, and so we couldn't keep any of them. They've been out there many times. They looked at all of them, and the Elks did us a massive, massive favor.
I understand all of that.
Oh, and then so,
but they could have kept that. I mean, they showed that they disassembled it within a 30 to 60 day time frame. Right. So that could have been the close of escrow, the beginning of their new venture.
So part of it is that state departments do not work as fast as we would like them to. We had originally planned to come in December and be able to make this announcement, and that was part of it as well. And so sometimes we've got to move at the speed of the state. And our intention was to be able to make that announcement before their lease was up. We have to move with our partners where they are, and so we just couldn't. But we gave the first letter to KDWP in June, offering them the land, another letter in August stating exactly what our intent was with it, and then we had to walk alongside them in their process. So we just wanted to ensure that they knew ahead of time. We knew that Ryan had other ideas for what he had come to us and talked about things that they were thinking about out there. We didn't want them to start doing things and then have to go to them later and say, I'm sorry, but we've moved forward faster.
So are you just saying that basically that
KDWP.
WP needed to see a clean slate?
That was part of it.
To move forward on their part? Yep. And so it just is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think one other issue is also like our legislature state-wise.
Yes.
No, I understand all of that. I'm trying to play devil's advocate here and go on the side of the Elks, wanting to know why they had to vacate with the possibility of this happening. So that's what my question was, why Iola Industries could not issue their eviction notice once the ink was dry and we knew exactly what was going on. That was just what I was trying to get at.
Josiah is also right, though. The legislative window is tight. It's very tight. And to introduce bills, that's done. And so our bill is there, but to introduce them, that's done. And it's a very, very quick turnaround on that.
Lisa, do you feel like the time frame of all this coming together will be in 2023? Or?
If the bill passes and goes through the way we hope it does, somebody asked this question too, grant funding, yes, 100% grant funding for this park. They already know where they want to be able to write for some of this funding. So the first year would be the master plan year, where they would actually do community conversations. They would come out and have a team that they contract with to come out and figure out the layout, visitor center, cabins, all of that. And that, again, community conversation, they're very big on that. They want to include the community on that. That master plan then dictates what happens the next couple of years as the build out occurs. The other thing I want you guys to know on a community aspect side, Thrive has already told KDWP, as long as they want us to, we will partner with them and keep those trails open and continue to maintain the trails during this process so the community doesn't lose what they're used to having on being able to go out there and bike and hike and walk and all of that. And so we will continue that partnership. The other side of it is, and I'll share this in my economic development report, so I'm sorry, you're kind of hearing some of this twice, is that in the past 2 years, Thrive Allen County has brought in $7 million, more than $7 million, to local governments within Allen County and local nonprofits. That's not to Thrive. We do have a $4.5 million budget. A lot of that's federal funds where we work statewide. But we brought in $7 million solely into this community that otherwise would have gone to other communities. We know that when Lehigh goes public, we can write funding for Lehigh as well, and we've promised KDWP that the same way we partner with anyone else in our community to ensure that we continue to grow and we continue to bring new things here, we will do the same with them. And I have all the faith in my grant writing team, there are 3 of them, that they can make that happen.
Somebody else?
The question was answered.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, that ends the discussion on Lehigh. Thank you. Economic Development Year in Review. Alyssa, it's time for your report.
Oh, sorry, guys. All right, I assume you guys all have your packets in front of you, and before I get started, I have written notes that I'm going to share with you, so you can walk through the packet, but I'm not telling you exactly where we are in the packet as we go through. We have quite a few things. I was telling Corey before I got started, I'm like, there was a lot that happened, so please bear with me. So good evening, everyone. As stated before, my name is Lissa Regier, and I'm the President and CEO of Thrive Allen County. Every year around this time, Thrive presents our year in review report to our funders. Over the past couple of years, you've become accustomed to seeing Jonathan Gearing up here presenting the work that he was leading. Unfortunately, as you are aware, Jonathan took a job with an economic development organization in Wichita in December, and he has been missed, but we continue to look for his replacement. The interview team, which is made up of representatives from each of the funding partners, Matt Rader for the city, has interviewed 2 candidates so far, choosing to move forward in the process with 1. She is currently in a fellowship that precludes her from beginning a new job for another couple of months, and because of this, we are continuing to keep the position open to ensure if someone who the committee feels is a good fit can begin earlier, we will have that option as well, and my team would really, really appreciate that. Most of what I share with you tonight is truly the work of Jonathan Gearing, our partners, and a handful of Thrive staff, most notably Rachel Moore, our grant writer, who focuses mainly on economic development. In the absence of an economic development director, Rachel, Marcia Davis, our community engagement director, and I are mainly filling in for the economic development work that was ongoing and continues to build as Jonathan has departed. As we quote in our report, the best way to predict the future is to create it. We love getting to work alongside our partners, business leaders, and entrepreneurs in the community to create a more vibrant and thriving environment. Economic development is critical to the economic health of communities. When done well, you see the benefits of increasing tax bases and project a winning image that fosters additional growth opportunities in business and human capital. Every month, Thrive gathers representatives of our economic development partners together in our Economic Development Advisory Committee to help guide and partner in our work. This ensures we are all on the same page and can collaborate as much as possible across our community in different economic development projects. As I believe all of you are aware, Thrive's economic development work is funded through a partnership between the City of Iola, Allen County, the City of Humboldt, and Iola Industries. Since 2014, each partner, except for Humboldt, who joined in 2020, provided $20,000 per year, creating a $60,000 fund for the position and work. This year, we are so grateful to you for raising the contract, making us more competitive in who we can attract to the position, but also creating a larger budget for the program itself, which will allow for travel to conferences, professional development, as well as memberships to economic development groups, but most importantly, funding to work on business recruitment efforts. We also want to share how Thrive partners throughout the community outside of solely our economic development work. This partnership and collaboration with government and other nonprofits creates a stronger economic base for our community to work from. And Thrive is proud of the fact that over the past 2 years, we have brought an additional $7 million into our community. Not into Thrive, as I stated earlier, but into local government and nonprofit organizations. Something I'd like to point out here. On average, a good grant writer receives 15% of the grants that they write. When it comes to our community grants, we wrote 28 over the last 2 years, winning 23. That's an 82% success rate, which is almost unheard of. Part of the reason we have become so successful in this area is because of the strong partnerships we have formed. We are in constant communication with our partners and others in our community to ensure we know what is needed. When the grant opportunities present themselves, we are already aware of who in the community would be a good fit. This kind of success takes a lot of transparency and communication. We are grateful to be in a community that trusts us to do this important work, bringing in dollars for needed projects that would otherwise go to other communities or states. In 2021 and 2022, and now we really are back in your report, we utilized Atlas Community Studios, a placemaking agency specializing in assisting rural communities, to analyze Allen County's economic development methodology. I won't go into great detail about it, what was shared, because you guys have seen this information over the past couple of years, and it's also in the report in front of you. But the big takeaways: we have jobs, but the labor pool falls short. It was recommended we create a collection of employers, higher education, K-12 wraparound service providers, and EcoDevo professionals to begin addressing the lack of a cohesive workforce development ecosystem. We need to leverage dual enrollment programs and apprenticeships, internships, and mentorship programs. We have begun work on both of these areas. It was recommended we build and budget for a standard incentive program to support business recruitment and expansion, that we continually assess employer needs in the labor market, apply for state and federal grants to support the workforce development ecosystem, as well as to support economic development efforts in general. One of the most glaring challenges facing Allen County employers today is a lack of workers for the many job opportunities available. Nearly all the counties and businesses and industries nearly all the counties, businesses, and industries struggled in 2022 to hire enough workers to keep up with product demand, despite employment rates hovering between 2 and 3%. The problem is not unique to Allen County or Southeast Kansas. Those who find ways to address this will succeed, meaning all area stakeholders must be proactive and creative in their efforts. Thrive has met consistently with local industry leaders to better understand their challenges and has connected them to state and regional resources. Thrive will also move forward in creating a regional workforce development ecosystem. With funding assistance from the City of Iola, Allen County, and Evergy, Thrive commissioned Next Move Group to conduct a labor study of Allen County. The study examined the health and well-being of the county's workforce and condensed the data into a report which Thrive has used in its business attraction, retention, and expansion work. Some of Next Move Group's findings also included Allen County's labor shed gives it access to a population of more than 270,000 people and 133,000 workers. Employees commute from 3 different geographic regions based on rate of pay. Allen County businesses that pay average wages can realistically expect to attract 2 times more people than below average wage jobs. The county has 3.5 times the manufacturing labor compared to the national average, and 10 times more than the national average of people employed as extruding, forming, pressing, and compacting machine setters, operators, and tenders. Now on to the projects that we have worked on throughout the past year. The first is the Allen County Airport development. Thrive was able to write and win a Building a Stronger Economy grant, otherwise known as BASE, for nearly $3 million, with the county agreeing to pay nearly $1 million to match to build water and sewer infrastructure at the airport as it prepares for future hangar construction and industrial growth. Other funding and improvements being made at the airport include the airport layout plan that's updated every decade and includes engineering work identifying facilities and amenities for future development. A KDOT grant of $477,000 to cover repairs and painting of the runway, and nearly $900,000 FAA grant covering upgrades to airport lighting. An exciting project that has gathered local interest involves the relocation of the American Flight Museum from Topeka to the county airport. The museum is a nonprofit flying air museum that owns a restored Douglas AC-47. Thrive has assembled a team of local government leaders and aviation enthusiasts to bring about the transition. The steering committee is currently seeking grant funding to spearhead this project. The number one topic that comes up in any community conversation or any economic development conversation is housing. A lot has transpired over the past couple of years in this area. It started with the county applying for a moderate income housing grant, we call it MIH, of $50,000 in 2021 from the Kansas Housing Resources Corporation. This funding is being used to build a single-family home in Humboldt, south of the square. In September, Thrive wrote and submitted on behalf of the City of Iola an MIH application for $650,000 for the construction of 3 duplexes, or 6 housing units, in the Cedar Brook addition. While this funding was not received and that was anticipated, the application is due again this month, and we will be submitting at a higher level for more than $2 million for the construction of 10 duplexes, or 20 units, for Cedar Brook. 2 housing victories were announced on the same night in February of 2022, almost a year to this date. The rezoning of Arkhaven Nursing Home to allow for multifamily housing, and BNIM receiving the school board's blessing to transform Iola's 3 vacated elementary schools into apartments. These 2 projects alone will add more than 100 housing units to Iola's current stock. This fall, Iola Industries agreed to gift its lots south of G&W to a developer to construct 2 duplexes. And finally, Thrive worked with Allen County Commissioners to implement a county-wide land bank. Land banks can acquire, hold, and manage property to turn these parcels into productive use. On the small business growth side, Humboldt enjoyed the opening of many businesses, in large part due to the work of a Boulder Humboldt. This includes the Hitching Post, Perry's Cocktail Bar, Honeybee Brunchery, and Sticks Golf Lounge. In Iola, we've seen the addition of a new coffee shop, the Fillmore Coffee House and Plant Cafe, in the former Around the Corner space. Sharky's Pub and Grub also opened this year to much fanfare. The addition of these 2 businesses, only a couple of doors down from each other, has created a hopping corner of the town square. In fact, on a personal note, multiple times I've gone to grab coffee or eat at Sharky's and have had to search for parking, which is not something we've been very accustomed to around here, and it makes me smile. Jock's Niche also opened on the downtown Iola Square this year, filling a much-needed sporting goods store void. They purchased the entire building and have moved April Krinke Photography into the east side of their building. This freed up April's space, and she created the Wellness Studio, where people can relax, receive massages, enjoy a sauna, participate in yoga and book clubs, and much more. We know of many more projects in the works on the downtown Iola Square. In fact, I know Paul Porter's here to talk to you about one of them, that we believe we will be reporting to you on next year. Shovel-ready sites are critical for communities who want to be competitive with commercial and industrial business growth. Iola's Industrial Park became one of only a handful of sites statewide certified by the Kansas Department of Commerce. The designation indicates that the site has been vetted and is ready for development. We will now work on certifying Humboldt Southwind Industrial Park and then move on to certify land at Allen County Airport. 2022 was a good year for state grant funding for Allen County communities. In January, Moran received a CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, funding for a much-needed repair project to hundreds of feet of city water line. The $900,000 project, which is half in grant funds and half in matching funds, will ensure residents and businesses there have the water they need. In 2021, the City of Iola received $350,000 in CDBG funding for a new fire truck, and that construction began in 2022. Thrive works hand in hand with the Kansas Small Business Development Center, KSBDC, and SEK Works, which is a workforce organization underneath the Kansas Works umbrella. Both have representatives at the Thrive office to assist entrepreneurs with performas, marketing plans, budgets, and more, as well as job seekers in finding opportunities that best fit their needs and on-the-job training. Thrive deemed 2022 the year of the task forces as we brought people together in the areas of farmers and ranchers, culinary and hospitality workers, and artists to address opportunities and challenges in these sectors. These meetings have proved fruitful as people are learning to work together collectively to address hurdles and overcome challenges, as well as learn from one another. It's well understood that most of the economic growth in a community comes from the existing businesses, and that's why an active business retention and expansion program is so critical. Throughout 2022, Thrive met with Allen County businesses, both large and small, to discuss their opportunities for growth and the challenges that stood in the way. The Allen County EcoDevo Advisory Council also began inviting local industry leaders to our monthly meetings to have these conversations, which allow for local businesses and government leaders to connect. This process will also continue in 2023. Rural economic development is really a mixture of economic and community development, or in other words, quality of life. Part of Thrive's focus in 2022 was to find ways to enhance that quality throughout the county. This included partnering with events such as SquareFest, continuing the affiliation Iola now has with Kansas Main Street, and organizing a brownfield event in partnership with Kansas State University and KDHE to identify resources for improving rural downtowns. Thrive also received a $35,000 Rural Business Development Grant through USDA to develop a business incubator accelerator feasibility study. The largest quality of life and economic development project Thrive has worked on in 2022 is, as I stated earlier, the creation of Lehigh Portland State Park. This work began about a year ago when Iola Industries gave Thrive the approval to approach Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks to discuss opportunities with the Lehigh property. KDWP has made many trips since then to Lehigh. Multiple visits included KDWP Secretary Brad Lovelace. KDWP staff has said the lake at Lehigh would be one of, if not the, most pristine lake in their system. The lake and trail infrastructure already in place is what drew their interest into our area, and Iola Industries board members voted unanimously to gift the Lehigh property to the state in order to ensure it can live on in its current beauty with additional amenities such as a visitor center, cabins, and more being added if the property does become a state park. The Iola Industries Board considers this their legacy gift. In a world where rural communities continue to be in decline, they are hoping this is one of the ways we can secure a brighter future for Allen County. If made into a state park, Lehigh Portland will provide swimming, fishing, camping, hiking, and more. The trails will still be accessible free of charge, as I stated earlier, and typically a state park has fees for parking and camping, but not for foot traffic, which would be a big win for a community where Lehigh Portland is easily accessible by foot and bike from downtown Iola or via the Southwind Trail. I addressed a lot of this other stuff earlier, so I'll move past that. So that's helpful. Creating Lehigh Portland State Park is a process. Nothing is solidified yet, so something to note, we did mention this earlier, that our hope is that this bill moves forward and that we are able to continue with Lehigh Portland State Park. The last thing any of us want is for it to be sold for development. That's not why Iola Industries started to go through this process. So we will continue to work to create a space that is open and accessible to our community and visitors alike for generations to come. And we are fighting to make that so. Economic development never rests. Success is celebrated briefly, and then it's on to the next project. Some of the projects that remain at the forefront of Thrive's efforts in 2023 include industrial site development, the airport layout plan, a hardware store, a gymnastics studio, an axe throwing range that was publicly announced last month, regional snack food business expansion, ag-related biofuel development, an assisted living facility, certified sites in Humboldt and the airport, housing, attracting new restaurants, creating new green spaces, the land bank build-out, ag business expansion, child care development, and entrepreneurship. Thrive is pleased with the work that we have accomplished and completed in 2022 to make Allen County a healthy, vibrant community for businesses and residents, yet much work remains. Increased funding for EcoDevo will help us do more. It is critical for Thrive, local stakeholders, and community partners to continue working together to pursue new opportunities, build or strengthen relationships, and seek solutions to existing challenges. The best recipe for economic success is plenty of persistence and patience with a healthy dose of optimism. And truly, we believe that our best days are ahead. Thank you all.
Thanks, Alyssa.
And if you guys have any questions, that was long, so.
Steve, question?
Yes, sir.
Go back to your grants.
Yes.
I think in there it says 4.5 million for the last year.
Yep.
Do you know how much of that 4.5 was specifically within the city limits of Iowa?
I can get you that information, Josiah. That's a good question. I will get that for you.
When you say indoor water facility, you include the new outdoor one too?
Yes. I mean, I don't think it's any secret what my big thing is. I want an indoor pool. My team has it big on the wall that that's my big dream.
But you're going to work on the outdoor too, right?
Oh, all of it,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
How many employees does Thrive have now?
It's a good question since we're down Jonathan and we're hiring right now. I think we're at 20. When we make the dispatch hire, we'll be at 28, I believe. When we bring on EcoDevo, we'll be at 29. I will say that part of that is we are currently running the county's public transportation program and also the Safety Net Transportation Program. And so that is ran through ART, Allen Regional Transit, which we have gone through the process of having it be its own nonprofit. And that's going to be very important for it to bring in its own funding. And it also works very differently than a regular nonprofit. Josiah knows, he's on our board. And so ART will begin rolling off this summer, but we won't roll it off until it can sturdily stand on its own, because these rides for our community members are so important. And so that will take about 11 members off of the Thrive staff. And then Thrive Kansas is also going to be rolling off in another year. So with all the work Thrive Allen has done in our past 15 years, we have become an organization that other rural communities go to. We officially mentored 24 communities across the state of Kansas through a Blue Cross Blue Shield grant partnership, but we also unofficially mentor many more who come to us, and also across the nation. In fact, I met with a group in Louisiana virtually just last week. But because of the work that we've done at Thrive Allen, it's really informed statewide work that can be done. And so some of this funding, the larger grants that we have, that is to do a lot of the work that Thrive has done here, like care coordination, working on substance misuse, a lot of those kinds of activities to do it statewide in other rural communities. And so Thrive Kansas will carry those programs that are done statewide and regionally, so that Thrive Allen ends its mission creep that is currently happening with the statewide work. And we will continue to collaborate very strongly. We don't want these organizations to compete, which is why we will roll that one off slowly as well over the next couple of years. But you will start seeing Thrive Allen County should be at about its highest level of staff members and programs that we will undertake, because the idea is if that program can stand on its own and bring in more funding to Allen County by standing on its own and be stronger by standing on its own, that's what we want it to do. So we will start shrinking. You'll see that as these nonprofits, these two, roll off of us.
Thanks for your great work.
Oh, thank you.
I will say I'm excited for the potential from this Atlas group that came.
Yes.
Just, starting the entrepreneurship series at the college for my students. But I know that we've got entrepreneurs here in the room that I think are very receptive to. In a sense, we always think about the bigger entrepreneurs, but we don't think about the smaller ones. And so I think
And one of the things I will say, especially with a couple of entrepreneurs in the room tonight, is one of the things I'm so proud of in Iola itself is we have had so many people want to move back home or come here for the first time and buy buildings and create businesses and make new things happen here. And that is very, very exciting. And I think we're kind of in a new renaissance with that now. And I think there are a lot of exciting things in the next couple of years to come that we'll be able to report to you on, and just a lot of momentum right now in the community. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for all the good work.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the EV charging station. Mr. Porter.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Paul Porter. I believe you got my PowerPoint presentation with the basics of what we're trying to do from Corey. Did you?
Yeah, it's in there.
Okay. But yeah, basically, we just want to get Iola and Allen County's first public electric vehicle charging stations up and running up on the big square at the Shannon Building. They will be level 2 chargers, which basically just means they'll be 240 volt. If you all know anything about electric vehicle chargers, you probably know that the level 3 chargers, those are the big ones they have on highways, and they are very cost prohibitive. But the level 2 chargers are surprisingly affordable, and we're only going to have about $1,000 per station invested once this is all over, give or take. So I think that's a pretty great thing to be able to attract people up to the square and spend some time there while their car charges, and hopefully spend some money. Nope. They will be public, free. As far as I know right now, the Tesla brand that we're installing, they don't even have the capability to charge money. There are some level 2 chargers, like ChargePoint is a comparable one, where the owners of those, they can control the rate. They can just set it to whatever they want to cover profit off of it. But these will be completely free, public use.
So will you be covering the cost of the electricity?
Yes, unless the city would like to help out, which happy to entertain offers like that. But yeah, we're going to, I actually already have the actual charging stations, and we'll just have to get the materials to wire them up from the building to the stations and have that work done. But yes, we're covering all of that, and it will be on our electric bill.
Are you willing to become a franchisee to like Cox and AT&T and things like that because of the Kansas One call? And
I'm not familiar with anything that you're saying.
So the franchisee would basically protect our other franchisees, because this is going to be out on the public right of way. With your power line going across there, if you're not a member of One Call, and I think the franchise agreement could be a fairly simple process. It wouldn't have to be as in-depth as Cox or AT&T, anything like that. But
is this for Power lines overhead?
It's for anything.
Okay.
It'd be underground or overhead utilities.
Okay.
It would allow you also to, at some point, if you wanted to charge for them, you could on public right-of-way if you are a franchisee.
Okay.
Is that not correct, Roxanne?
This is the first I've heard of
it's no different than a
Yeah, basically,
other
Paul,
utility.
it's basically just a contract that says you can use the public right-of-way. We have it, we don't have any utility ones because the city provides it. But with Cox and with QuickCom, they give us what's called a franchise fee. It's 5% of the bill. And it gives them the right to use our public right-of-way. But you have to become a member of One Call. And then anytime you need to get into the right-of-way, you need to let us know.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can't just show up and start digging.
Right.
Basically, put it that way.
Well, and it protects whoever's digging. If the city was to go in there and bore something, or AT&T bore it, you're going to locate it, or somebody that you contract would locate it, and then we'd know that there's a utility underground, rather than get hit.
Could you identify to us where you would place these lines? Because I'm familiar with your building, and there's a room under the sidewalk. Is that where the lines would run?
Yes, yeah, there's actually 2 rooms, and I believe that they used to have the gas tanks down there for the gas pumps that used to be there. There was a filling station at the Shannon building at one time, and we have some pictures of that. So yes, those rooms that run actually underneath the sidewalk, I believe that those are placed perfectly, so we'll just have to bore a hole through the...
My concern with this is that it's on the street. And I know that we have public 24-hour parking lots several places. Anytime I've ever seen an electronic vehicle charging, it's been in parking lots. I feel like that's a safer option than to have it on the street for any reason, honestly. And that's just my biggest concern with this.
My comments to that would be, let's be open-minded and think outside the box here. I agree that I've seen these in Walmart parking lots, places like that. I think part of Paul's idea is to try and draw people from Walmart downtown. Also, we, the council, looked at EVs, and we didn't want to get in the business of EVs. So that would totally change if, my lean is, if this council is not interested in a franchise agreement or trying to work out some sort of an agreement, then we need to step up and look at this, because they're not going to go away. You and I are not going to get rid of electric vehicles. It's going to happen. So if we turn away Mr. Porter tonight, then I believe we're going to have to step up and start looking at this seriously and consider whether or not we want to be in business and purchase EV stations. I think
that's one of
we've worked out agreements with other businesses downtown. We allowed 5 o'clock somewhere, which is now Rookies. We allowed them to pour a concrete patio over our right-of-way so that they could have an outdoor dining, smoking, drinking place. I remember I was on the council then, so I'm just saying agreements can be attained and reached. It's just whether or not both sides can agree to it.
I would love to see electric vehicle chargers in every parking lot in town, but especially around the square, because if you get them up there, that means people are going to stop for an extended amount of time and be patronizing the businesses up there. But the actual footprint of these things is, we're talking 1 square foot of the right-of-way, so it's not going to be infringing on anything really. It's, the size of a post, basically. So, but yeah, definitely I understand all the concerns, and I'm here to ask to...
it would almost be like a parking meter that we used to have there.
Exactly, yeah.
Well,
some people probably say, well, is there a need for that I've been contacted? I've got a cousin who lives in Mason Lodge, Western Kansas. Pack up and down east in Wichita, and the only place in southeast Kansas that he can go is Pittsburgh.
Yep.
He says he wished there was one here. He grew up in Fort Scott. With his wife, and they have family, friends, and there they come quite often.
Yep.
And they would like to bring their electric vehicle with them, but they can't because there's no place to stop.
Yeah.
You know, now, the only people are looking at adding one because of 400 passing through there. And they've had requests, you know, where's the closest one?
Yeah, since I've been back, obviously I have an electric vehicle, but I've seen, I don't know, the number of owners in Allen County go Tesla supercharging station in El Dorado. I believe that's the closest to us right now. Then there's Olathe. Pitt State does have a couple of charge point stations. Those are level 2. And that's really about it. We're kind of in a dead space, but if we can get those stations and we literally get on Tesla's map, people have that in their car when they're planning a trip, it routes them through the places where there are stations to charge up. So it will bring people through town that wouldn't normally come.
That was going to be my question, is if your car tells you where your fueling points are.
So when we considered this charging station proposal before, I don't remember exactly how much it was going to cost us, but it was quite a bit.
It was quite a bit because the individual wanted to charge a fee for it and wanted us to pay for the equipment.
They were charge point stations.
And give the electric.
There's a maintenance agreement or a service agreement for, I want to say it was 5 years. It was like $12,000 over the 5-year period that we had to pay for maintenance of it. And we looked at because as we talked to them, you could put those level 2s in pretty easy. The level 3s are the fast charging ones. When we talked to them, they didn't believe that we could draw enough people in for the slow charge is really why a lot of it started to go the other direction. It's like, it's not really worth the infrastructure improvements.
So when Mark mentioned we like parking meters, I was thinking when we lived in North Dakota, and you would park downtown in the wintertime, every parking spot had a plug-in for your block heater, so you could keep your car engine warm while you went shopping. I guess one of my suggestions is there a way that we can make this a public city type project, since you're not going to charge anything? Because there's some reservation about, excuse me, having this a private operation on our public space.
Yeah, I'm open to any ideas. I would like to see charging stations all over the square, all over town. Like you said, Steve, electric vehicles, they're not going away. And I don't want to see Iola get left behind. Because,
so Paul, are you saying that you would install these, maintain these at your cost, provide the utilities at your cost, but it is to be used by anybody?
Yep.
So do you have any idea what the cost of the electricity is going to be?
Not exactly, but our car, we charge at home, and there's a little bump in the electric bill, but it's really not significant. So we're confident that the people that we draw will at least break even coming into the breadery to do stuff there, or staying at our Airbnbs upstairs, or even indirectly by just patronizing the square. And that's our whole, big picture. We want to make the square a busy place all the time.
How much would it add to the cost if you had the regular credit card pay stations at each one of these, like most of them?
Yeah, that would probably be the charge point option, and I think
they're not that expensive
it's about
either.
$1,500, $2,000.
Yeah, I quickly looked.
But they're a lot more involved, and then they have those agreements for maintenance and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it does Apple Pay, it does all kinds of things that you can use to pay for the
So
for the
that,
charges.
in addition to the, excuse me, 1,000 that you said was going to cost each, that's an extra 1,500 for each station to put in a charge point?
If we did the charge point and Tesla are two totally separate things. The Tesla ones that he's wanting to put in are strictly a Tesla brand. Now, you can have the converter or the universal plugs to plug in any electric car, but ChargePoint's the only one you're going to be able to utilize to actually be able to collect money on using it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is more of like it's similar to what you'd have in your garage or house, right?
Yeah, basically. So it's the Wild West right now. It's still a relatively new technology. Everybody's kind of figuring it out. Tesla has opened up their design for the ChargePoint. They're calling that the North America charging standard now, and they're trying to get everybody else to adapt that. But as far as I know, all electric vehicles, Tesla, otherwise, they come with adapters for different types, so you can use different ones. Like I use Tesla, I use ChargePoint. Was it Evergy? They've got a lot of units around the state, and there's a bunch more. But I think that'll kind of consolidate, and everybody will kind of get on the same page, or at least offer adapters for their vehicles. So I don't think we're going to, be ruling anybody out just because it's a Tesla charger.
So Corey and Matt, this is, I think, a question for the two of you. If we have a horrible snow,
Okay, well, first of all, we don't recommend that you make them exclusive.
Okay.
First of all, I think anyone should be able to park there whether there's a charger in front of it or not. Well, I mean, if there's a car there, I mean, we're not going to take it out. We'll go around it.
but it's been like,
But if there's not a car there, we'll
still clean it.
clean it off, yeah.
I mean, it's the property owner's responsibility to clean the sidewalk anyhow.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
All right,
it
where
would
were you
be-
talking, the spot or the sidewalk?
Both?
Oh.
Okay, yeah, sidewalk is the property owner.
Well, and we I mean, that's in our number one plow area anyhow, so we're going to clean that up pretty early, so.
So you think it should be open parking and someone wants to charge and there's a car there, they won't be able to charge? That's what you're saying, right?
Well, I think that's why there's also multiple spots. But yeah, I don't think we should have any reserved parking on the square for anyone.
All right, so
Any public spot should be reserved.
I think if this were to work, I think we'd have to come up with an agreement that would make him kind of a franchisee using public space. Otherwise, we're going to end up with challenges going forward on the rest of the square. But I mean, the concept sounds good. I mean, it draws people to the community and does fill a void where there's no charging stations, but there's kind of a challenge there of allowing a private individual to use public sidewalk, public parking. And I think if you're going to put these in there, it ought to be somehow reserved for people who are going to be using them as charging stations.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
I mean, it'd be kind of like a handicap space.
Yeah, kind of. Definitely not that critical.
Because you would have to somehow designate it.
Right, and that's part of the request. I definitely want those to be, we'll have signage up saying, if you're parked here, you have to be charging.
Currently, it's a 2-hour parking stall anyhow.
So that might just solve the problem.
I don't foresee a big issue with that. I mean, because honestly, all the way around the square.
3 spots.
Do what?
He's requesting 3 spots, correct?
Yeah, 3 out of 6 on that side of the building. And they're the farthest ones from any entrance to anything. I know there are some people that park there regularly that work on the square. But as far as I know, that it's not really going to put anybody out.
My one question and concern, well, I have a couple, but I'm for us moving forward in this direction, and if you would be able to become a franchisee, just to have a fair play in the game, but and then that way you could charge if you wanted to a fee. But what's to say that you decide not to put solar panels on your building, and then the city does not get that income from that power.
In the solar panels?
Well, because the solar panel, like if you were to install solar panels on top of the Shannon building to offset electricity, which then we've already put out there that you could put these charging stations out there. One of our benefits is that we get the revenue from the electricity used, but if you decide to solar, the city loses out on that income.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yes.
I mean, we...
I missed something here. I thought you said you were going to pay for the cost of the electricity.
I'm looking forward.
We are planning on putting solar panels on top, which will offset the electricity when there's power being generated from the sun during the day. We have solar panels on our house at home, and there's definitely a big benefit during like the late spring through early fall. We saw a big offset and a big reduction in our energy bills, and we hope to see the same with Shannon Building. But there's, more than half the year, and including every night, where that power is still coming out. So it's...
And I'm not shooting you down. Don't take me wrong. I'm just thinking forward.
Yeah, I mean, we plan on doing the EV chargers, whether we do solar or not. They're not
as long as
intertwined at all.
we can agree that it's okay to put it on the public right away.
Yes.
That's the only place you want to do them?
Yeah.
By your store?
Yep. I mean, for now.
We do have an agreement with Brookings that is attached to the deed that says at any time if one of our utilities needs to remove that, they can, and it's...
Right. We do not rebuild it.
If we have to.
And I mean, yeah, the franchise
Yes, it's in
agreement
the
would be
right-of-way.
the same. I mean,
Yeah.
it's no different with Cox and them. If we have a project going through, we just got to give them ample notice if we're going to do project through there and they have to remove the stuff, remove it.
Well, I guess I would be in favor of this if we could work out some kind of agreement that would allow him to use the public right-of-way for essentially a private use that benefits the public in general, because it would be a benefit to everybody, especially since he's willing to pay the cost of electricity. But that would require staff to put together some kind of franchise agreement that gives him permission to do that.
And you would have to become a franchise member of 21.
All right.
I don't understand that particular requirement, but I'm not familiar with those rules.
I mean, that's my biggest concern, is having that electric line under the sidewalk. It's not about the pedestals
So
being out there.
there's a lot of power going to be underneath the
Right.
sidewalk, and so our franchisees need to be aware of it. Now, I mean, that's just a requirement we have for all of our franchisees, is that you have to become a member of One Call.
And it's, I mean, it's not a big deal. If somebody calls in to locate, he's going to get a phone call, or whoever he designates with Kansas One Call is going to get a phone call to go locate that line in case of an emergency or work in that area. So,
Yeah, I also agree with Carl. I think we should direct staff to work out a franchise agreement. I will say, if you're worried about the underground power, I was told historically that the Shannon Hardware stored their explosives in those vaults, which is right where those are now. So I think this is an improvement of the electricity over the explosives. But
Yeah, there's a safe down there that's
But yeah.
kind of bulging, that I think there was an accident at some point. But.
I was told that safe came out of the corner, was it the bank that burned on the corner?
Yeah, maybe.
I was told that safe came out of the bank across where Talkington's office is. There was a Northrop Bank.
So do we need to make a motion to give you direction, or just a consensus?
if you guys have got a consensus for us, you'll have to prove the franchise agreement anyhow. So I don't think so.
No, I'm getting consensus that you want us to come up with a franchise agreement, and we'll do that. But I'll tell you right now, to me, it's a can of worms you don't want to open if you restrict them just to EV vehicles. If we're going to restrict public spots for a certain kind of vehicle, to me, that's a can of worms I don't think you want to open.
So
I'm going to tell you right now, one of the recommendations I want to make is that you don't allow it to be EV only.
So is there some kind of a sign or something that would not make it exclusively like a handicap stall that would say, this is intended for
I don't know,
EV
Carl.
charging?
Carl, this is uncharted territory for me in my
Well,
career.
why don't
I've
you-
never
why
been a
don't you
part of
research-
anything quite like this, so.
Why don't you research it a little bit with,
Yeah,
You can make any sign you want to. as far
without,
as I said.
without having to pay our attorneys a whole bunch?
I think people are going to see the charger and know that it's be a charging station.
Yes,
For me,
I
it's
think
the
so.
sign that
So
says
maybe-
EV station only.
I'd be surprised.
Electric parking.
Well, I'm pretty sure that we don't adhere to the 2-hour parking
Yeah.
on the square. I've witnessed that multiple times, so.
I am requesting that I'm allowed to put up signage saying EV charging only, but if the city doesn't want to enforce that with towing, that's fine with me. I mean, I can go out there and tell people, hey, you should be parking here, and they can tell me to, whatever, or be nice,
Throw him a bagel.
But, yeah. But I would like to have a sign there saying designated for EV charging only.
I have a question. Insurance, liability on this. What if there's an incident with this charger? Who covers that?
I will talk to my insurance agent and see if there's a special coverage for that.
I think we'll have to have something in the franchise
Yeah, put it
agreement.
this way, Joel, it won't
General
be us.
liability.
It won't be us.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have liability in there, it won't be us.
Yeah, I would assume it's on me since it's connected to our building and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And typically, the franchise agreements have a blanket statement as far as minimum insurance requirements, so we'll, break that down a little bit for this type of project, but
Yeah, and it's not really like big power running through. The max we'll have, if we do have all 3 stations, it's going to be 60 amp breakers for each one, which, yeah, it can definitely hurt you, but, it's not going to explode and cause a disaster or anything.
I think staff has direction in mind, and somebody will get back with you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Unit 22 bucket truck replacement. Mr. Baker?
Jimmy's been waiting for this all night. He's probably not real happy I put him in the box.
Back at 7:30, I was close.
Mayor and council, we're kind of running into a dilemma on being able to get trucks in a reasonable time. I've got a 2002 service truck that's got 89,000 miles on it. I'm getting ready for my annual stress test and dielectric test on it, and I've got a little doubt on that, but we're having some other issues with it, so I was going to go out and get some bids, but about it, I've talked to 3 bucket truck companies so far, and if we'd go out right now, the delivery would be anywhere from 1.5 to 2 years for it. So later, Altech, a guy named Tim Wilcox, got a hold of me, and he was delivering 2 trucks. Seen on your report there, the price is $165,859. For quotes on with other companies. But I'm saying lead time's what's unreal. And then in 2024, I'll have a 60-foot bucket truck. Companies, and they said if I would go out right now and start getting bids or something, the estimated delivery would be somewhere around 2.5 to 3 years. So in other words, we'd be looking at 26, early 7. I'll probably just wave at as it drives by. Down to the bare minimum of that.
I'd be there with you, Jim.
So I'd like to see if you guys would approve us buying this small bucket truck. It's a Altech 550. It has a material handle and a bucket elevator on it. It's a pretty nice truck. and we could receive it now and not have to wait we're a year and a half to 2 years.
How many of your current trucks are four-wheel drive? Well, the only thing I don't like about this proposal is waiving the bidding requirement. I'd rather go out for bid, and then if this price that they're quoting you looks good, then go ahead with it.
I understand that, but what I'm telling you is we'll be almost 2 years getting a truck, and this one is available.
Yeah, Carl, that's the point of the conversation.
Yeah. And my curiosity was, any idea what type of deal this is? I mean, price-wise.
Okay. I got with ETI, and if I'd get a bare minimum, would not have a material handler, no bucket level or anything else, the bare minimum truck with a two-wheel, with a material handler and four-wheel drive, it was going to be $180,000, and that's and a 2-year wait. So they're in the ballpark. Most of them are. I also reached out to Terex, and they're out 2 to 2.5 years. And he was supposed to send me some information on pricing, but I did not get it. And then as far as the big bucket truck, ETI, they won't even offer a quote on one that's 55 or 60 foot. So I'd be looking at just 2 companies. It's not to me. We've never had four-wheel drive. The reason they turned them down there, it's a rural co-op, so they're out in the country most of the time crossing ditches. We're most likely going to need four-wheel drive. So far, we haven't had a lot of trouble. Plus, if we get stuck on the easement type deal, we usually just winch ourselves out and then do yard work.
Yes. We got a loader that'll pull about anything now.
That's what we do.
So you said ETI, a bare minimal basic came in around 150. So give us an idea. That bare minimal at 150 versus this one at 165, what's the difference?
The 165, the bare minimum would just be a bucket boom only. The 165, it has a material handler. In other words, it's got a jib, we can hang transformers with it. Where the other one is bare minimum, no, you'd have to still take the digger truck. It also has what they call a bucket elevator on it. It's 40 foot tall, and then it's got a 2-foot elevator, so if you get in something, you can actually go straight up for another 2 foot.
Okay.
That's pretty well the difference.
A bucket elevator, so if you're inside the bucket?
Yes, sir.
It's got a telescoping,
it's got a ram, and it'll elevate you an extra 2 foot.
Right.
Straight up through the phases.
What's that useful for?
Get between phases, instead of having to jockey your boom around there like that, it'll just take you parallel straight up.
I think for just a 10% change.
Well, and you also think about the increase we potentially would have if we're bidding it out, and it's going to be 2 years down the road.
And they told us on that, when you bid them out, if they send us quotes or something, when they deliver it, there's probably going to be a little bit difference in price due to what the chassis. Because if you order a Ford chassis and they don't have it in stock, then when they get ready to build your truck in a year and a half from now, that chassis might be up $4,000 or $5,000. So you're going to have to meet into that. I would probably sell it on Purple Wave or something like that.
We've been pretty good in the past selling those trucks as well as other trucks on Gavel roads.
Yeah,
they don't charge it's a buyer's premium instead of a seller's premium. Plus, they'll let us have a reserve. If we think that truck's worth $10,000, we can reserve to keep it. And we've got some other stuff. I know Jared's got some impound vehicles that we need to get rid of too, so we'll probably try and...
Berkeley's got a couple.
Right,
so
roll all that together.
Roll a whole bunch together and talk with them.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of a new Alltech 40-foot bucket truck on a 2023 Dodge Ram 5500 in the amount of $165,859 to be paid from the equipment reserve funds.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Also want to mention about the big one too.
Yeah, mention about the big one. No, mention about the big one. The RFP, yeah.
Yeah. Would you have a problem with me going out and getting specs on a big bucket truck and do an RFP and get quotes on it and bring it back when they're talking 3 years out? Because in 2024, that next one will be 20 years old.
Would we have the money to pay for it?
We have the money now.
You currently will have around $261,000 left in your equipment reserve after the purchase of this vehicle.
Yeah, and we'll put money back.
Plus, it's not payable until you deliver
Get it in there, yeah.
which is 2 to 3 years.
And we'll bring back the bids, once we open them, we're going to bring back the bids to you guys. It's following the procurement policy we've got in place, so it wasn't really a slated item to go out to bid this year, but.
Yeah, we're pushing the budget process ahead about 2 years. We were going to talk about this, not for the 24 budget, maybe the 25 or the 26, or after Jim is retired, one of those times. And when we had this conversation, we just told Jim, we got to move on it now. If we have something to buy now, we need to move on it. We thank you all for doing that, and then we need to start the process on the big one.
Absolutely.
We start it now. It'll be 3 years before you guys even see anything.
And everybody's having it. The Trice truck's still out there. It's over a year, and I haven't seen it.
Got 2 patrol cars. And
everything that we bought last year, we haven't seen it.
We haven't seen anything.
We have
fire trucks getting close.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And it's the same thing like our transformers. Everybody's having trouble with material. I mean, like ordering transformers, they'll tell you 30 to 40 weeks out.
Lead time, have you been looking at your F-150 Lightning or your Ram Rev yet? Because the Ram Rev won't be ready till 2024.
Mine will be up, mine's a 99 model anyhow, but I think the bucket truck will be more important. But
okay.
Stay on the council, I might get one.
A new truck can pull you. Get a tow strap.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim.
You guys okay with that?
Yeah, you guys okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that was consensus I got.
Thank you.
We'll get together on that.
Thank you. All right, council administrator reports. Carl?
It's been a good month. That's all.
Thank you.
I have nothing.
The Lady Red Devils and the Red Devils play this Wednesday at 6 and 8. Thank you to everybody who came out this past weekend. Other than that, I did get communication from a community member that the graffiti has seemed to expand it, not just I guess what was down here, but also some graffiti on the trail up by Oregon. And so they just had some concern and wanted to let you all know that. I don't know why they didn't reach out to you all, but I'm okay with them reaching out to me.
Not on Oregon, that would be ours.
Be ours. If it's south of Oregon, it'd be ours. If it's north, it'd be Wildlife Parks.
It's a state park at that point.
Okay. I'll have Berkeley look at it.
Or if it's the state park.
Kim?
I just want to say I appreciate.
I think I've got Trent's number.
the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
I have nothing.
Nothing? Corey, anything?
I'm sure you guys got the text from Chief. The guys are at South Dakota right now looking at the truck. We'll do an inspection tomorrow on the fire truck. So hopefully within the next month or so, we'll have that truck here close to being in service. Only 2 years down the road.
Looking. It's bright and red.
I don't have anything.
Matt, Roxanne, anything? You all received notice that it's time for Matt's evaluation, so make sure you go online and look at his review and get it turned in. If that's it.
I'll motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? One's not here.
Kendra didn't get the vote.
No, he didn't.